My name is Marjorie Bicknell. I am the regional rep for the Dramatists Guild of America in Philadelphia. Tonight's play, and it is a children's play. It's probably the first time we've ever done a children's play, at least in my memory. So it's very exciting. And the name of it is, as you all know, Jessie and Grace, A Best Friend Story. And we are lucky tonight to have the authors to read it for us. Thank you very much, and please enjoy
Jessie and Grace, A Best Friend Story by Sandy Asher and David Harrison.
As Jessie, a fourth grader.
And me, Sandy Asher, as Grace, also a fourth grader.
Part 1.
Jessie and me, we have best things and worst things. A big best thing is that we're best friends forever. Really, forever. But now, 2 worst things are happening. First worst thing, my Grandpa Joe has died, and I'll be going to his funeral next Saturday. Second worst thing, I'll miss Jessie's birthday party for the first time in our entire lives. I told him at the beach. He said he understood. I knew he would. That's Jessie.
Today we went to the beach. Last chance. School starts tomorrow. When we invited Grace to go with us, she was ready in 5 minutes. Found out her granddaddy died. She didn't know him well, but her dad was really sad. We took lunch to the beach, played ball, built a sand castle. It was a best thing day until Grace said, "At my house, it's all about the funeral." The funeral is in Ohio on Saturday. My party's Saturday. Grace will miss my party. First time ever.
I wonder who feels worse, Jessie or me, about missing his party. For a while, we don't say a word, just sit on the beach and watch the waves. Maybe it's a tie, I think. Jessie smiles. What? I ask. It's a tie, he says, as if he could read my mind. It's a twin worst thing, he says, my party without you there. I agree. And we laugh because when we were little, we pretended we were twins. And because we both know, even if this is a worst thing, we're sharing it. So we'll be okay.
Leave it to Lance to ruin the day. All of a sudden, there he was, stomping our castle, kicking sand everywhere. "Hey," I yelled, "what do you think you're doing?" "What do you think you're doing?" Lance said back in a silly voice. "Stop it," I said. "Stop it," he said. "I mean it, Lance," I said. "I mean it, Lance," he said. I hate being teased. It's my worst thing. I was so mad I could almost cry. "Leave us alone, Lance," Grace said. "Leave us alone, Lance," he said. "Leave us alone, Lance," Grace said. "Hey," he said, "that's not fair." "Hey," Grace said, "that's not fair." Lance stomped off. Leave it to Grace to save the day. Her birthday is 3 weeks after mine, so I'll be going to her party soon. No one ever had a better friend.
First day of school, we made maps of ourselves. We each stretched out on a big piece of paper, and then someone traced all around us with a crayon. On my heart, I wrote my family: Mom, Dad, Grandma Joyce, Grandpa Bill, and Grandma Ruth. Then I wrote Grandpa Joe. Even though he's been sick since before I was born, I didn't know him very well, and now he's gone. On my head, I wrote dogs and wolves and horses and poems, all of my favorite things. On my tummy, I wrote cookies and ice cream, mostly chocolate. In my hands, I put books and basketball. On my feet, I wrote nothing. I hate to wear shoes. Then I remembered I needed a special place for my best friend. So I wrote Jessie on my big toe. He laughed so hard.
Last week, we drew maps of ourselves. Grace put me on her big toe. I put her on my little toe. She's so funny. My party was Saturday. Hooray! Grace and her folks were out of town for her grandfather's funeral. She's bringing my present to school today. Hooray! She said, I'll love my present. I know what it is. Bet you $1. I need a basketball pump, big time. Leave it to Grace to know what I need. Here she comes. Hey, Grace, hooray!
Last weekend, I went to a funeral for the first time ever. It was long and slow and sad. Grandpa Joe was my dad's dad. I held Dad's hand. Mom did too. We used to visit Grandpa Joe, but it made him tired, so I didn't really know him. Grandma Ruth visits us a lot. I feel sad for her and for Dad and Mom. But I needed a present for Jessie's birthday, and there was no time to shop. Homemade is always better, Jessie says. So for the first time ever, I wrote a poem all about him. Mom drove me to school today, late but excused, and I brought Jessie's poem with me. He's going to love it. I can't wait. Hey, Jessie.
Grace grins and hands me something. An envelope, a card with a sheet of paper folded inside. Read it, she says. I'm confused. Is this it? Last year I got her a compass. I wrote it for you, Grace says. Kids are noticing. Read it aloud, Selena says. I begin, Jessie, you're my best friend. I look up. More kids are listening. Everyone knows that's true. So I'd love, Selena snorts, Gracie's got a boyfriend. She loves him. Everybody points at me. Jessie's got a girlfriend. No, I yell. I wad up the poem and hit the trash with a 3-pointer. Some present.
Mad Monday, bad Monday, mad, bad, mopey, dopey, nasty, and not nice. I wrote a poem for Jessie's birthday. Everyone laughed and he threw it away. He never said, thank you, Grace, or even, sorry, Grace. He knows how hard I work on my poems. He knows this one was especially for him. He never said anything at all. He just crumpled my poem and threw it away. Why?
Why did she have to go and do that? Jessie's got a girlfriend. Jessie's got a girlfriend. Not true. She's just Grace. Well, it's too bad she got mad when I threw her poem away. But it was all her fault. What did she expect? A birthday poem? Why did she have to go and do that?
I thought I timed it just right. Last in line from the restroom to recess, I slipped back to grab the poem out of the trash can before anyone else could see it and read it and laugh some more. But the poem was gone. Who could have taken it?
Talk about nervous. Rear in the air, head in the trash, dumpster diving for Grace's poem. Bet I looked silly. Didn't want Lance to find it, or Paul, or those girls. I know what they'd say. No one saw me fish it out. No one saw me shove it in my desk, still wadded up. That poem has caused enough trouble. Don't feel like reading it now. Don't know when I will. Not for a long time.
It's hard to sit right next to someone you've stopped talking to. You have to keep your eyes straight ahead every second. Mrs. Padron thinks I'm staring at her. It's hard to sit right next to someone who used to be your best friend. You have to remember not to laugh at anything he says. It's hard to sit right next to someone who threw away your best poem ever. You have to try really hard not to cry. I think Mrs. Padron is staring at me.
She doesn't move or change expression, just stares ahead. I'm right here, right beside her, same as always. The silent treatment, huh? Well, two can play that game. We'll just see who gives in first. It won't be me.
I thought maybe when school got out, Jesse and I would walk together as usual. I thought maybe he'd finally say, "Thanks for the poem, Grace. I'm sorry I pitched it." And we'd be best friends, as usual. I thought maybe I'd say, "Jess, it was only a poem, not a love song. You're my best friend, not my boyfriend. I like to write poems, so I did, as usual." I thought maybe when I got home and Mom asked, "How was your day?" I wouldn't burst into tears and run up to my room. I'd just say, "It was good, as usual," but maybe not.
How was school? Mom asks. Boring, I said. Please let her drop it. Anything exciting happen? No. Did Grace bring you a present? Mom, I don't want to talk about it. Honey, is something wrong? I hurry to my room, shut the door, and dive on the bed. Jessie, Jess, she calls through the door. Tell me what's wrong. I'm fine, I yell. Leave me alone. Jessie?
I know those smiles, Mom and Dad listening to me from their safe grown-up place. They think it's cute, me writing that poem, Jesse pitching it, the two of us not talking, the other kids giggling and teasing. Mom says, "This will all blow over." Dad says, "Someday you'll both look back and laugh." They smile at one another. But I don't smile. We were best friends forever, true. But this won't blow over because it just blew away.
Jessie? Oh, can't be morning already. Jessie, breakfast is ready. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to see my friends. I don't want to sit by Grace. Jessie? Okay. I don't want to go to school. I just want to stay right here under my pillow.
Every morning when Selena walks to school, she stops for Courtney. Courtney is Selena's first best friend. Then they stop for Sophie. Sophie is Selena's second best friend. After that, they walk past my house. Every night they call each other and decide what color to wear. Yesterday it was blue. I don't know what it will be today, but I'm going to walk with them. I hope Selena doesn't mind having a third best friend.
Grace walked by like I wasn't there, laughing, talking with Selena. Who cares? After school, Paul's coming over to shoot some baskets like Grace and I used to do. Who cares what we used to do? Paul's my best friend now, and best friends have fun.
Jesse and Paul spent recess together, shooting baskets and making plans. Jesse and I used to do that. I spent recess with Selena, Courtney, and Sophie talking about clothes. Jesse and I never talked about clothes. Basketball, books, birds, bugs, and sailing around the world. Yes, but not clothes. Selena, Courtney, and Sophie are all wearing green today. They're wearing the rainbow, one color at a time. Vibgyor, Selena reminds us. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Do I have to wear yellow tomorrow?
Can't believe I wrote a poem about Paul and me. Not after Grace's poem started this mess. Paul and Jesse, Jesse and Paul, all for one and one for all. He's too short and I'm too tall. At least he isn't Grace, he's Paul. Okay, that's silly. That's dumb. But I think Paul liked it. Thing is, Paul's not a silly kind of guy. Grace and I were always clowning around over homework, talking goofy on the phone. Paul's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. He's just sort of quiet. Says he can't think of much to talk about. He'd rather shoot baskets. But hey, we're having fun.
Mrs. Padron started it after recess. What's the matter, Grace? I came in picturing myself in my one yellow sweater that Aunt Doreen gave me. It's fuzzy. It makes me feel like a baby chick. No, Jesse said when he first saw it, it's more like a pencil with fur. We laughed about that. But I was not laughing after recess. What's the matter, Grace? Mrs. Padron said. You seem sad today. Is something wrong? I didn't want to talk about it. What's the matter, Grace? Lance the loudmouth hissed in my ear when I sat down. Lost your boyfriend? What's the matter, Grace? What's the matter, Grace? Now I hear it everywhere I turn.
What's the deal with you and Grace? They ask at school. Nothing, I say. Nothing, except Grace moved to a different desk. Nothing, except she's hanging out with a bunch of nuts dressed like gumdrops. Paul and Jesse, Jesse and Paul. He's too short and I'm too... What am I supposed to say? Nothing, except we used to be friends. Nothing, except now we're not. Simple as that. End of story. Nothing to say.
Mrs. Padron wouldn't let it go. Are you sure, Grace? Are you sure you want to change your seat to way over there? Yes, please. She finally agreed. Way over here, far from kids like Lance the loudmouth and you know who. It's peaceful. I can look out the window and not even care who's best friends or not. Way over there.
Jesse, Mrs. Padron says, shaking her head. I don't think you've heard a word I've said. Sorry, I say, feeling heat paint my face red. She stands and does her teacher walk up and down between the desks. I know what's coming. She stops beside me. I stare at my book, much too busy reading to be interrupted. It doesn't work. She leans down close to my ear. Are you all right? She whispers. I'm fine, I say. Heads are turning my way. I'm fine.
Selena leans across the aisle in her bright yellow blouse. Jesse likes you, she whispers and grins big like a clown. He does not, I say, scratching everywhere my yellow sweater itches. I'm like a yellow dog with fleas. He's not even speaking to me, I remind her, and I'm sure not speaking to him. Selena's grin gets bigger. But he's looking at you, she says. I glance across to way over there, just in time for Jesse to notice and look away. Selena's grin squeezes her eyes nearly shut. I shrug my itchy, fuzzy yellow shoulders. So he's looking at me, I say. So what?
Hey, Paul, want to come over? Shoot some baskets? Can't. Why? Grounded. Why? Fighting with my sister. How come? Who knows? She's a girl. Ha! So what do you think Grace was looking at me? When? In class? Ah, who knows? Hey, I know. She's a girl. Ha!
Selena says that Courtney said, that Sophie said, that Lance the loudmouth said, that Paul said, that you said. that I was looking at you. I was not looking at you.
Word two.
Was not. Well, maybe by mistake. But you looked first.
Did not.
Did too.
Says who?
Selena.
Selena's a nut.
Selena's my friend.
Then go hang with Selena.
I will. And Sophie and Courtney.
The whole bowl of fruit, banana day, orange day.
Or rainbows, not fruit.
You're nuts. You used to be my best friend.
You used to be my best friend.
Who wants to be a rainbow?
Who wants to be a rainbow?
I'd rather shoot some basketball.
I'd rather shoot some basketball.
Stop it, Grace.
Stop it, Grace.
Come on, Grace.
Come on, Grace.
Not fair.
Not fair.
Okay, that's it. I'm out of here.
Fine. I feel awful. Jesse hates that. He really hates it when someone teases. Repeating everything he says is his worst thing. So why did I do it? I've never done it before. He deserved it, Selena says. He threw away your birthday poem and called us nuts. Aren't those worst things? Yes. But he looked so hurt because he knew that I knew that he knew that I knew that that was his worst thing. And I kept on doing it. Why is it when you share a worse thing, you feel better, but when you give a worse thing, you don't?
Grace knows I hate it when someone repeats everything I say. Why wouldn't she stop? Why? It's not like her to treat me like that. I must have really hurt her when I wadded up her poem. Really, really hurt her. I know it's the worst thing for her when someone doesn't like her writing, but that's just too bad. I'm mad too. She started it with her stupid poem.
It's Red Day today, the last day of Vibgyor. The colors of the rainbow: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. I like red, so that's okay. But Jesse turns red every time he looks at me, which is every time I look at him, which is every time he looks at me. I don't know who looks first anymore, and I don't care. I just wish we could stop looking and start talking again. We could talk about being at the end of the rainbow with no pot of gold.
You know, sometimes when you get a cut and you keep picking at it so it won't heal, feels like that with Grace and me. I can't seem to stop thinking about us. Staying mad is hard. I remember back in second grade, the time I broke my finger and Grace cried. But that was then, right? I look over at her. She's looking at me. What is she thinking? Paul says, what do you care what a girl thinks? Girls pinch and snitch and cry snotty and always have to get their way. Right, I say, who cares? I still wish I could stop picking at it.
He's supposed to be a magician. He's supposed to be reading our minds. So why did he choose Jesse and me? He's not really a magician. He's not really reading our minds. He's just some special assembly guy whose tricks are all about math. Still, why did he choose Jesse and me?
I can't believe this. I can't believe it's happening. I can't believe I'm standing here on this stage next to Grace. 1 minute, Paul and I are snickering about him getting grounded again. The next, this phony, if you ask me, mathematician guy points his finger at me and calls out, you, blue t-shirt, third row, come on up. I sneak a look at Grace and she's just like that, bam. He booms at her too. You, red shirt on the aisle, yes, you, come on up. I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm standing here on this stage next to Grace.
End of part 1. Part 2. Think of a number, any number, the mathematician says. 10, I tell him. I'm going to be 10 next month. Silently, inside your own head. If there was anyone left not laughing, they're laughing now. I see grins and hear giggles. Those who know about Jesse and me are whispering to those who don't so they can laugh too. He called on Jesse and Grace and they're not talking because they're in love. I think of a number, all right. It's the number I feel like inside my head. 0.
Not funny. He didn't tell Grace to keep her number secret. Not funny when someone's laughing at you. My turn. Pick a number, out loud or inside my head. Everyone laughs, except Grace. I wasn't making fun of her.
Somehow the mathematician doesn't notice kids laughing at Jesse and me. Somehow he doesn't notice teachers shushing and shooting off dirty looks like popcorn popping without a lid. Somehow he doesn't notice Jesse's fire red cheeks or the tears tipping out of my eyes.
He just goes right on with his stupid trick.
Pick a number, add 8.
Multiply by 2, divide by 4.
Subtract half your first number.
What's the answer?
4. The answer is always 4. How can he not notice that nobody cares? But I notice something. Who is the only kid in the room not laughing at me? The answer is Jesse. The answer is always Jesse.
When he finally lets us go, we rush for the steps, bumping hips like 2 people squeezing through a door at the same time. You look so funny, Paul laughs on the way home. I nearly wet my pants. You should have seen your faces like 2 big ripe tomatoes. And she was crying. Oh, boo-hoo. What a riot. You weren't up there, I snapped, trying to think with everyone screaming like hyenas. Shake it off, he says, punching my shoulder. He turns off at his street. I wave. He goes off laughing. I never went home feeling so bad when I walked with Grace.
You do want a party, don't you? Mom asks. It's your 10th birthday. Double digits. That's worth at least a smile, isn't it? I smile big on the outside and worry big on the inside. What kind of party could it possibly be without Jesse? But I can't invite him, can I? You'll have to invite Jesse, of course, Mom says. But I can't invite him. Can I?
She's not going to do it. I'd ruin her party if I were there. What could I say? Seen any good mathematicians lately? Her mom will tell her to. Moms do stuff like that. But she'll invite the girls instead. Selena, Courtney, the Fruit Bowl crew. If she does ask me, which she won't, because she shouldn't, I'm not going to do it.
Invite him, Selena says. You know you like him. Invite him, says Courtney. Invite him, says Sophie. I don't like him like that, I insist. Now they're all wearing goofy grins. The only way they're going to believe me is if I absolutely, positively do not invite him.
Paul passes me a note folded up tight. One eye on Mrs. Padron. I smooth it out. If Grace invited you, would you go? Nod your head if the answer is yes. Feeling my face heat up, I look around fast. Who wrote this? Paul is watching me, but he didn't write it, not his style. My eyes cut to Grace. She jerks her head down like she wasn't looking, but this isn't her writing. Selena, trying to look innocent. Courtney, hiding a smile. Sophie, covering her mouth. I should have known. As I stuff the note deep in my desk, my hand touches Grace's poem. I pull it out. It really is a nice poem. I hope no one sees me nod my head.
He nodded. Lance the loudmouth says it out loud, but we're all thinking it. Selena, who wrote the note and passed it to Courtney, who read it and passed it to Sophie, who read it and passed it to Lance, who read it and passed it to Paul, who didn't have to read it. Selena had cornered him at recess while Jesse was off retrieving their ball. Hey, Paul, if Grace invited Jesse, would he go? I don't know. Ask him yourself. So she did. And he nodded.
Everybody seems to know more than I do. They don't say anything. They just grin. If they did say something like, would you go? I'd say no. How can I say no but still want to go at the same time? Sometimes I don't understand me.
I could have the party and not invite him, but that would make him mad. I could have the party and invite him, but he might not show up. That would make me mad. Or I could not have the party. And your choice is? Dad asks. I don't know. He never said he was sorry about my poem, but I still miss him. He was my best friend. All of a sudden, Dad has tears in his eyes. I think I know why. Do you still miss Grandpa Joe? Dad nods quickly, the way Jesse nodded when he thought no one was looking. He was my best friend, he says. That's when I know that keeping a best friend is more important than keeping a poem.
Parents talking in the kitchen, not listening. Saturday blahs, raining, nothing to do. Paul's grounded, called his sister a name. You're so funny, Mom tells Dad, laughing in the kitchen, having fun. Open a book, flip pages, sleepy, boring rain, eyes closing. Laughing in the kitchen, laughing, talking. I have a thought, almost, something about friends.
The roll around, I decide at last. I can invite the whole class. Anyone who doesn't want to talk can just skate away. Next day at school, Selena's thrilled. A skating party. She hands out my invitation so I don't have to. I'm afraid Jesse will toss his in the trash. Selena says, betcha he won't. And she wins. Let's all wear polka dots, she says. No, I tell her. Let's all wear what we want. Then we'll be surprised. Selena's eyes open wide. Nobody's ever said no to her ideas before. Then she smiles. I love surprises. Me too, I think, if they're nice ones. I wonder which kind I'll get for my birthday.
Wouldn't you know, Grace would have a skating party. Wouldn't you know, she'd invite the whole class. Wouldn't you know, I can't skate. Dad's grinning. He thinks it's a riot. Mom says, Paul is so sweet to say he'll teach you how. So now we're skating around his basement, around and around and around and around. Paul and me and Paul. I get up, then I fall. Me and Paul, Paul and me. No skin left on either knee. But I'm going to that party, if there's anything left of me to go.
He doesn't skate. Jesse doesn't skate. How could I forget that? I just needed a way to invite everybody so I could stop worrying about whether or not to invite him. He's going to think I did this on purpose, a worst thing. I wanted him to remember his birthday and my poem, the first one I ever wrote to someone. I wanted him to say, I'm sorry. Now I'll have to say those words to him. Who goes first?
Please, please don't let me fall. Don't let me stumble into Paul or break my neck in front of Grace. If I crash, let it be into the Rainbow Girls. All I have to do now is not fall, give Grace her present, and wait. Will she keep it or wad it up and throw it away?
I am going to spend my entire birthday party skating away from Jesse. I have to. If he falls and I help him up, everyone will laugh at me. If he falls and I don't help him up, everyone will laugh at him. I can't take back my invitations. I can't add a PS, no laughing. And Jesse can't skate. This party is going to be my worst thing ever.
There'll be a table for presents. After we skate, sing the song, and have cake, she'll open her stuff. What if she throws my gift away right in front of everybody, like I did hers? It would serve me right. I get it now, how much I hurt my best friend. Wish I could take it back. Wait, if I skate up close and hand it to her while she's skating, she can't skate and throw it away at the same time, can she?
Everyone's skating round and round, except for Jesse, who's skating up and down, mostly down. Everyone's laughing louder and louder, and sometimes at Jesse, who must be feeling up and down, mostly down. I don't care anymore if anyone laughs. They're always laughing at something or someone. I thought the best idea would be to skate away, but I'm feeling just like I did when he broke his finger in second grade, and I could feel the hurt. I'm skating over.
Wind's knocked out, wheezing for air. Someone stops, helps me up. It's Grace.
You all right?
I nod, stand there, amazed. Everyone's laughing. Jesse's got a girlfriend. Let them laugh. I don't care. I hold up Grace's poem. She looks confused. After I threw it away, when you left, I got it back. It's your best poem ever. Selena skates by. Gracie has a boyfriend. Gracie keeps looking at me. I did a dumb thing. I said, homemade is always better. I'm sorry. I hand her my poem. I wrote it, I tell her, for my best friend.
When Mom and Dad taught me how to skate, they held my hand. Hold hands now, and it's Jesse's got a girlfriend. When Jesse and I were little, we wrote to each other all the time, riddles, jokes, and poems. Write a poem now, and it's Grace has got a boyfriend. Teasing should never come between best friends. That's the worst thing of all.
I agree.
A poem is just a poem.
A hand is just a hand.
And a best friend
is the best kind of friend of all.
That's why we're holding hands and skating round and round.
That's why we're going to read our birthday poems out loud together.
To Jesse. Jesse, you're my best friend. Everyone knows that's true. So I'd love to have been at your party so I could say to you, eat your cake, gobble it up, but reserve me a slice if you can. And think of me while you're munching, 'cause I'm your biggest fan. And everyone knows that too. Happy birthday, Grace.
To Grace. No one ever wrote me a birthday poem before. No one ever said the things you said. No one ever told me I'm your biggest fan. No one ever showed me what it means to be best friends. I wrote this birthday poem to say to my best friend, I'll always be your biggest fan too. Happy birthday, Jesse.
This birthday party,
Is our identical twin
number one,
best thing ever.
end of play.
Let's give everybody a big hand. I know it's hard to do it when you're not visible. And if you have questions for the authors, or if you want to throw them some compliments, please put them into the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They'll be answering them as they come up.
Okay, while everybody is thinking about that, we thought maybe we would tell you a little bit about the background of the play. And it began in Springfield, Missouri. Well, actually, after I left Springfield, Missouri, David grew up there, right? Born and bred.
Pretty close to it.
Okay. And I lived there for many years. But we moved away almost 20 years ago now. And while I was there, David and I collaborated on a lot of projects. But we communicated a great deal.
And I remember telling you the day you left, you're breaking my heart. You can't really go off and leave me like this.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Well, I promised him that we would still communicate by email, and it would seem as if we were emailing each other across one city instead of half the country. And after a while, I came up with this idea for this story. I did a rough outline and began by writing a poem in the voice of Grace and sending it by email to David. And
we had a general idea that, we kind of knew where we were starting and more or less where we'd wind up. But Sandy, I gave you so much credit on this because, this is your ball game. And you know how to make these things happen, how to shape them and make them go forward. I was new to this sort of writing, and what I found fascinating was that I didn't know what you were going to say next until I got it. And then I wasn't writing it to you. My response was my feelings, my response. That's what you want to do. So I would write what happened to me as a result of what you did last. And then it would go back to you, and then I'd be just totally surprised and blown away by what you had to say about it that next time. So we wrote it together, every other poem, we took turns, but each poem was a gift. It was just it was exciting to write it with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And the same thing was happening on my end. I do see a question from Lynn Shane. She's wondering if any of the vignettes happened in your own lives.
I was probably a little bit older, maybe 6th grade, possibly 7th, when I accepted a date invitation from a girl. I thought she was pretty cute, and she wanted to know if I wanted to go to her church skating party. And I said, sure. And I had no idea how to skate. And so a friend of mine across the road from us had a concrete basement and a supporting pole in the middle of it and a pair of shoes or skates. So he let me practice down in his basement that night. And I really did go to the party, and I really did have a whole lot of skin off.
Yeah, we had I guess it was a cement basement in Strawberry Mansion in Philly, where I grew up. And I practiced skating myself in the basement, round around. And boy, did it hurt when you fell on that thing. Yeah. And when I was skating out on the street, I fell. And skinned my knees so badly. My father patched them up, but I sneaked down in the middle of the night and took the bandage off and fainted. So yeah, we have a lot of experience apparently skating badly. It made it into this story.
Sandy, when did you write your first poem?
Oh my goodness. I don't remember about the poems. I know I was always singing little poems on the beach in Atlantic City, and I don't really know how old I would have been, but I wrote my first play in 2nd grade.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I used to. Does this sound at all familiar, David? I used to boss my friends around and make them act out my plays.
And I just fit right into it, don't I?
You do, yeah. So, and my teacher was in love with the theater, and she used to act out scenes from Arsenic and Old Lace for our 2nd grade class, and we loved it. Wow. The ants poisoning old men and burying them in the basement, the whole thing. But she encouraged me, and we'd go into the cloakroom, which was almost a separate room off the classroom where we would hang up our coats and rehearse. Mm-hmm. And then she sent us on tour around the school. So,
perfect.
Yeah. I'm trying to scroll up and see if I've missed any questions. I have to scroll back. That's before we start ask for questions, and then I have to scroll the other way again.
And I can't see what you see, so.
Well, you could if you would look at the chat.
Oh, well.
Is this a play that's written out to children so children can perform it? Well, I'm so glad that you asked, Susan Hutchins. Yes, it is. It is available. And if you go to my website, sandyasher.com, you'll see radio and Zoom plays. And there you will see how to write to me and get a copy. We think that this could be acted by any 2 people of approximately the same age. You know, David and I are definitely not 4th graders, but 4th graders could do it as well. There's also a prize-winning version of our story as rewritten as a play that's published by Dramatic Publishing. It takes 4 or 5 actors, and you can have extras and you can have puppets if you want to add that. And that you can find at dramaticpublishing.com. I need to acknowledge that because I've worked back and forth between our first poems and that play, but this is much closer to those first poems that we wrote. The play at Dramatic Publishing gets a little more complicated. Same story, same characters, but more characters played out. Okay. Marge, have I missed anything? Are you by any chance? Have you ever thought of, I love this one. Have you ever thought of turning this into a picture book? David, I'll let you answer that.
Well, I think we do have a manuscript we would like very much to see placed, but it's not a picture book. It's a, I guess you would call this a novel in verse, for lack of a better term. We would talk to an interested editor about what might happen to this. Maybe there's more than one version of it, a shorter one and a longer one. We had a great deal of fun writing it. We want to place it someplace, and Sandy says it's already won a very prestigious award in a play format. So, and we get nice responses like this when we have a chance to do short readings of it. So yeah, it's who knows?
We're up for it. Yeah. Our original idea was that it was going to be a book, and it wasn't selling as a book. And I said, I wonder if we've written a play. And so I adapted it as the play that Dramatic Publishing has available now. But then with all this Zoom stuff going on, I thought, why don't we go back to the original version and do it as a Zoom play. So here we are.
And as usual, you got us here.
Yes, yes. I do. Does the book use different fonts for the characters? We haven't gotten that far with it as a book. No, it's a thought. And have you considered writing a second act about the two of them when they grow up? David, you want to try that one?
Well, I think we're a little bit young, aren't we?
To write about them as adults?
To have grown up.
Yeah.
I don't know, that might be interesting. I don't know if I could skate anymore. We'd have to change that scene.
Well, they'd probably give that up around. I would be interested in Genia Miller, I believe, is, if I'm reading this correctly, how you would picture them as grown-ups. Well, they'd look a lot like us, probably.
What are you going to do with that?
I don't know. And Gary Blackwood, a friend from our distant past, said it worked for love letters. And Gary, yes, that is very much what I had in mind, that this could be done by two people who could read it. And it could be any two people, preferably around the same age would make most sense. But yes, I was thinking of love letters when I thought of doing it this way. Okay, one last look around for another question, and then I think we will say good night. But yeah, I think we've got them all. Marge, are you still with us?
Okay, and I wanted to thank everybody for coming. And I really hope you all enjoyed tonight's presentation. We are doing a lot of footlights right now. There will be another one in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks after that, and 2 weeks after that. So if you're a member of the Guild and you get the newsletters, I hope you'll join us again. And if you're not a member of the Guild, you can certainly write to me at Philadelphia@DramatistGuild.com, and I'll make sure you get an invitation. And everyone, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Marge.
Thank you, Errol. Thank
Organizing.
you so much.
Good night.
Thank you
Bye.
all for joining us. Good night.